Greetings, this is Gary Witherspoon, Deputy Project Director for the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration. On behalf of Governor Larry Hogan, Transportation Secretary Greg Slater, and MDOT Administrator Kevin Quinn, welcome to the 6th CAT meeting for Bethesda Chevy Chase. Today you'll be hearing from Carla Julian, the PLTC Senior Manager for Public Affairs and Community Outreach, and Mark Edsel, the PLTC Area 1 Project Engineer. Today you'll hear about the Purple Line Project Update, Construction Progress Overview, including work completed, progress photos, and a 6-month look ahead. You'll hear about maintenance of traffic and pedestrian safety, construction work hours, and details on how to submit a question. You'll be happy to know that construction is about 28% complete. MDOT's goal is to open the Purple Line in 2 phases. The Phase 1 by December of 2022 and Phase 2 by the middle of 2023. The state considers commercial and residential construction companies as essential to still operate during Maryland's state of emergency. As the Purple Line falls into this category, work will continue to move forward with additional safety measures in place to keep our staff and our neighbors safe. The first light rail vehicle is 60% through testing in Elmira, New York. It'll head to the Glen Ridge Operations and Maintenance Facility in Prince George's County for local testing later this year.
Hello, everyone. My name is Carla Julian, and I work for Purple Line Transit Constructors, managing our community outreach and public affairs. Happy to be giving you an update on the Bethesda Chevy Chase segment of our community advisory team meetings. We're going to kick off, as you guys all know. This segment covers the terminus of the project at the Bethesda Metro and goes all the way to Connecticut Avenue. Moving on to our next slide, we are unveiling new renderings of the stations, and here you can see the Bethesda Metro. The Bethesda station is the westernmost terminus stop on the Purple Line, and riders will be able to walk into the station from Woodmont Avenue or take an elevator or escalator from Wisconsin Avenue down to the Purple Line platform. To continue on the Metro, riders will be able to go down to the future Metro mezzanine via elevators to access the Bethesda station. And during construction of the future mezzanine, riders can access Metro by walking along Wisconsin and or Woodmont Avenues. Connecticut Avenue Station is a side-loaded platform with track crosswalks to access both inbound and outbound tracks. The Purple Line tracks will run adjacent to the Capitol Crescent Trail over Connecticut Avenue. Access to the Purple Line station will be permissible during revenue hours from the Capitol Crescent Trail.
My name is Mark Edsel. I'm the project engineer for the Area 1, Segments 1 and 2 section of the Purple Line. I was the presenter back in the fall for that CATS meeting. Starting off with the work we've completed over the last 6 months. In the Bethesda shaft, we completed we're still placing the concrete lining, and it's ongoing and scheduled to be completed probably in the late spring of 2020. At Pearl Street, we completed the installation of the storm drain system through there. That was the big box culvert that ran along the backside of the businesses. That was quite an accomplishment, actually. We continued the demolition and the reconstruction of the retaining wall at the Hilton Garden Inn, and we began some of the excavation work for the retaining walls for the CCT bridge. Montgomery Avenue area, again, more retaining wall work is going on. To date, we've completed roughly 30% of the walls. Again, more storm drainage work and continue with the underground communications, which were being relocated so we could bring the LRT through there. On work going on at Sleaford Road, that was a pretty tough section of the area that we were working in there. But we did get the sanitary sewer rerouted and completed the large 7-foot by 5-foot box culvert that will be draining underneath the new underpass there. Also, we began working on the foundation work for the sound walls that'll be going along the corridor through there. Working towards Connecticut Avenue, we got the overhead power relocation completed. We are still working on getting a couple of the communication lines rerouted. Once those are done, that'll set up for the setting of the steel for the bridge. Also at Connecticut Avenue, we completed the pile driving on both sides of Connecticut Avenue and at the Chevy Chase Lakes Drive Bridge. That work was completed. We began also construction of the retaining walls on both east side or on the southbound side of Connecticut Avenue and the northbound side, and the walls along the Chevy Chase Lakes Drive Bridge. This slide here of the construction at Connecticut Avenue is west abutment looking east. So you're on the southbound side of Connecticut Avenue looking to the east there. It shows the retaining wall construction. You can see the piles sticking up in the air that'll hold the abutment up, and those large steel cans are the future foundations for the catenary. Moving on to Chevy Chase Lakes Drive, we completed the ground improvement work and the stone columns or the foundation for the walls through there. We also completed the piles for the abutments, and then coming up from there, the retaining walls. We also completed the abutments as of this date on both sides of Chevy Chase Lakes Drive. All right, moving on towards Jones Mill. We got all of the communication lines relocated finally. Phase 1 of the construction for the excavations completed. We're roughly 35 feet below the existing Jones Mill Road. We got the retaining walls leading up to the underpass completed, and installation of storm drain and the foundations for the future underpass tunnel through there. The slide here shows the excavation there. As you can see, it's quite a few feet below the existing grade there. For the you see the CAT excavator, that'll be the new stairs and ramps down to the CCT trail. That's how you'll access the trail from that side. Moving on towards Rock Creek, the mass excavation on the west side of Rock Creek. We installed a temporary bridge, which will give us access to the west slope. We began construction of the abutments on both the west side and the east side, and continued on with the storm drain work there on the east side. All right, this next progress picture here of the Rock Creek Trail. There's our 300-ton crane there on the left. In the bottom of the frame there, you can see a man in blue walking past our temporary bridge. That's our access over to the west slope. And you're looking towards Littonsville there. So where that vertical face is, that'll be the new abutment on the east side of the creek there for the LRT bridges. It's not shown as the CCT trail abutment, which is actually going to be a little bit lower and on the left of that abutment there. But as you can see, the abutment is set back quite a bit from where the original timber structure was for the old Georgetown Branch Trail overpass. Looking ahead, the blasting will resume in probably May or June of this year to facilitate the excavation of the cavern that will connect the purple line to the red line. We will obviously be giving notice for those activities start up. We'll be coordinating those as well with WMATA while we're scheduling the blasting. In the Bethesda enclosed trainway area, we'll be shoring underneath Wisconsin Avenue. That'll begin sometime in the summer of 2020, and we'll be prepping for the concrete track slab that'll be going under that area. As you come out of the BET area towards Pearl Street, doing the foundation work, and the pedestrian bridge construction will be starting here shortly. In addition to that, we'll be continuing with the retaining walls on both sides of the alignment through there. Each wall is roughly 1,400 feet long, so they extend quite a ways from there towards East-West Highway. And as they come up with the retaining walls, they'll be installing some storm drainage work along there as well. Montgomery Avenue, again, there will be retaining wall construction, and the retaining walls that separate the LRT from the CCT trail, and there'll be some storm drain work going there. We don't have much storm drainage work left through there, so most of the work will be above grade going forward. But at Sleaford Road, with the utility and drainage work completed, we are going to start the ground improvements, which is an undercut and stabilization of the grate that runs through there. Also be starting the construction of the retaining walls on either side of the future underpass. As you work towards Connecticut Avenue, we expect to be installing the girders this summer, likely beginning of July timeframe is what we're looking at right now. We will be giving advance notice, and there'll be much coordination with the state highway and weekend closures for that work. Also, with that work being installed, with the beams being installed, we will start the bridge deck construction and the station work there as well. Chevy Chase Lakes Drive, we are set to install the girders for that bridge actually on April 16th and 17th. We will be using that bridge to get temporary access into the Connecticut station. So that's how they'll be building that box that the station will be sitting on, just through that area right there. All right, working towards Jones Mill, we'll be completing the phase 1 construction midsummer this year. We'll be doing the traffic switch, or scheduling the traffic switch for later in the summer, probably late July is what we're thinking right now. Obviously, we'll be giving plenty of notice to the surrounding area for that. At Rock Creek, we are set to install the tub girders for the LRT bridge. Actually, April 21st, so the trail will be shut down for about 2 weeks during that time period, while we set the cranes up and get in position to set those girders. At this time, we are not setting the CCT trail structure. That'll be set later, probably in September of this year. Once that's done, they'll continue on with the retaining walls, and more drainage work will be going on through there. The slope stabilization work on both slopes on both the east and west side, and we expect to have the Rock Creek restoration work done by the end of the summer.
As always, we like to remind you to be safe as you are maneuvering through the construction work zones. We are going to have existing traffic patterns in place that are going to change. You'll see work zones on both sides of the road. When we do have to have a lane closure, a notice will be distributed via text and email. And if you're signed up for our notifications through Purple Line MD, you should be receiving those. You're going to see orange cones and barrels and different types of temporary barricades. So just make sure when you're driving that you're not texting and you're staying very alert to move safely through those work zones. Definitely want to remind you guys about pedestrian safety. Keep in mind that our work zones will be clearly marked and the public should not enter those under any circumstance. Pedestrian detours will be clearly signed, so we ask that you follow those in order to stay safe in our work zones. When closures occur, alternate access will be provided. Pedestrian crossings will be maintained, and pedestrians should always obey construction signage and keep out of the work zones. Just a reminder that our typical construction hours are listed here: day shift, night shift. The shaft work hours are a little different because we have to have additional shifts working there. We are able to work 24/7 through our contract as long as we are notifying the public. And you guys should receive those if you are signed up through the notification system on purplelinemd.com. And here you can see a list of the major notifications that will be provided through that system. And finally, we do want you to stay up to date on progress, and this is how to reach our team. You can, if you have a construction-related question, you can email us at outreach@pltcllc.com. We do have a 24/7 hotline at 240-424-5325. You must leave a voicemail on the system, and then it comes directly to numerous team members. So leave a message, and then we'll give you a call right back. And if you have general questions about the project, you can reach MTA through the below outreach at Purple Line MD, and then their numbers are listed here as well. Thanks for taking the time to watch our presentation. Please email any questions that you have related to construction in progress to outreach@purplelinemd.com by the date listed below.